Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, I have a special guest. Her name is Jennifer Ramirez. Jennifer is an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, and she's also the founder, I guess, as well as the executive director of Women Rise Chicago. So welcome, Jennifer. It's awesome to have you today. What did I miss in your bio?
Hey, Karen, thank you so much. I appreciate being here. So it's called, the website is womenrisechicago.org, but it's called And Rise. So just a little background on that. The and means your story's not over yet. There's more to tell. And the rise means rising above any adversities that you've been through.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I knew it was something rise, but
yeah.
I looked at your website. Oh, this must be it. Okay.
No worries.
All right. Well, what led you on the path to being the founder of your organization?
Yeah, so I'm a sexual abuse survivor. I was abused at the age of 7 by my father. And I was silenced as well. My family knew about it. My mom stayed with him after knowing. And I was told not to tell anybody, keep it a secret, because didn't want dad to go to jail. So that was a big thing for me. I didn't really realize too, becoming a teenager, becoming a young adult, that I had major boundary issues because my boundaries were crossed at such a young age by somebody that, was supposed to be the person looking out for you the most, the two people, and they silenced me and, they crossed those boundaries. So I never really had any. So I went through my young adult life just having none. And I was really crazy. I moved to Chicago when I was 19. So I grew up in the suburbs, but moved to the city. So I went really crazy, got exposed to a lot of different things that weren't in the suburbs that I didn't really want to surround myself with anyway, but like drugs, alcohol, gang bangers, like drinking, partying all the time. Like I got into that lifestyle, didn't have a care in the world anymore. I was just partying all the time, every day. And then I got pregnant. And then my daughter's father was also a gangbanger, drug dealer, and he took off as soon as I told him I was pregnant. And so I was left by myself, pretty much to fend for myself and my daughter. And that was very traumatic on top of everything else that I had been through. And it took me a really long time, like, to figure out that a lot of the decisions I was making and the lack of self-esteem and the lack of loving myself and all that was due to the trauma that I went through when I was younger. And it didn't really start kind of like resonating with me until I went to therapy and counseling. I started reading self-help books, because I really wanted to change. And like, just to give you a little bit further background too, like I said, I was 21. I was living paycheck to paycheck because I wasn't getting financial help from the father. $25,000 in credit card debt, living paycheck to paycheck. Lived in a really bad neighborhood in Chicago where there was a drug house across the street, shootings every day. And that was kind of like my worst moment where I was like, how the hell did I get here? This is not what I envisioned my life to be. This is not how I grew up. This is not how I want my child to be growing up in her life. So I was like, what have you been doing? You need a change. Everything that you've done to this point has not worked. It's only done, been negative and bad up until now. So I knew, and it kind of became my mantra was, if you want a different outcome, you have to make a different choice. And I used to tell myself that all the time because I had consciously made bad choices. Like I knew it. I knew not to go to those neighborhoods. I knew not to hang out with these people, but there was just something inside that was like, I don't care. Something inside just didn't care. And that was the lack of the self-love that I did. I didn't care about myself. I didn't care about the consequences of my actions. And I used to do a lot of really stupid things. Like now that I look back, I'm like, wow, like I could have ended up dead or, even raped again and stuff like that, but I really think God was always looking out for me despite me not making the best decisions. But then, like I said, that's what also made me want to be better. Because I was like, your daughter is watching everything that you're doing and she's going to follow down the same exact, path as you unless you do something different. So then I started, like I said, the therapy really helped. And then I started going to college. I I worked in a really toxic work environment for like 7 years. Then I got promoted downtown and I started working with normal people that had no drama, and everybody just actually went to work to actually work. So like, and these people were like college educated. So they were all, family oriented people. It was just a very different atmosphere. So I was really inspired by that. And that's what made me want to go back to college. I put myself through college. And yeah, I mean, college was a huge game changer for me. It changed my perception on the world and on myself, so that's actually what made me want to create what I created. I started And Rise, and it just started out as just women's empowerment events is what I used to call them, out of my living room. That's really how it started. First event, we had like 15 people. Second event, I had like 3 people show up. So like, it was like, I didn't know what to expect, but by the third event, we sold out of 150 tickets on Eventbrite. And I was like, holy crap, like that was kind of my light bulb moment. Like, okay, women want this, they like this, they were inspired. I got really great feedback after the event. And I was like, I think I can make this into an organization. And that's kind of how And Rise started. And so we offer women personal and professional development workshops. We do weekly support groups for trauma survivors. And our vision is to put thousands, if not millions, of single moms through college, and giving thousands, if not millions, of trauma survivors free counseling, because I hear from so many women that come to our support groups that they don't do therapy or counseling because they can't afford it. And I don't think that that's a good excuse. Not that it's an excuse, but that shouldn't be the reason. Money shouldn't be the reason you're not getting that help, because mental health is so very important, and it changed my life for the better. And so that's why I want to give that back to women, because I think that if you want to see a counselor, there should be you should just be able to go get one. I don't think money should be an issue. So anyway, so that's why I started And Rise, through, my pain, everything that I went through. And I just want to help women just be the best that they can be, and share my story, that I was a single mom. Statistics show single moms are not supposed to be college graduates. We're supposed to be poor. Our children are supposed to be failures and poor. And it's terrible. And if
You
we
just have
could
like
end.
bad children on the
Yes,
system.
it's true. I remember, Karen, when I was still going for my associate's degree, I was reading my psychology book, and I would read out loud to my daughter. She was like 7 or 8 at the time, and I read her. There was a chapter on family dynamics, so like, different families. So single parenting came up, and then I read all the statistics about single parents, and she was like, "Mommy," she's like, "that doesn't sound like you at all. That doesn't sound true at all." And it was like one of my proudest moments. And I was like, that's right, baby. I'm like, we are not going to be that statistic. I refuse. That's we are not going to go down that path. And I hate, though, that the world kind of tells you this is the category you're in, so then this is your outcome. And I think people can get stuck in that, like, oh, they read it and then they believe, well, that's what I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to just work this 9 to 5 forever and not be anything and just be a mom. And it's just so not true. And I want women to realize, like, you're not just a mom. It is part of what you do, but it's not your entire identity. You can make your identity to be whatever it is you want to do, or be. And just me, I wanted to be a business owner. I either wanted to be a CEO of a huge company or start my own. And I did it, I just did it on my own. And it's just taking those risks on yourself, but it took a lot of work for me to get into the mindset that I'm at. And therapy was a huge part of that. So that's why I want to, give that back to women. And the support groups, we've been getting really great feedback. So I know that that's helping women as well. So I'm really, I'm very proud of what we're doing.
As you should be. So you said something key. You said earlier that part of the struggle growing up and getting involved with the wrong crowd and so forth was the lack of self-love. And I think that's why a lot of single moms get stuck. They don't have that self-love, and they don't have the confidence to strive. They think, well, if my own parents didn't take care of me or love me and protect me, I can't be worth anything. And they internalize and they get stuck. How did you get to the point where you had that self-love? Was it therapy, or was it other stuff too?
I think it was a combination. It was therapy, and it was also reading those books. Like, I didn't think that self-help books would, like, help, but they've made a huge difference in my life. And I remember actually going to work one day with a book called Emotional Resilience. And I used to ride into the train on the train. So I used to read. And I remember people making fun of me. My coworkers were making fun of me for reading it. They're like, a self-help book? Who reads self-help books? And I was like, is that a bad, like, I was like mad. I didn't even get embarrassed. I was just like, that's messed up that you're making fun of people for trying to be better. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. That was just something that always stuck out to me. But yeah, I mean, and I think a lot of my realizations too came from when I started the nonprofit. Like, helping women has been so incredibly healing to me. And I never expected that I thought I'm going to come in here and help all these women, but little did they know that they're helping me when I hear their stories and when I'm seeing them heal. It's so like incredibly inspiring to me and healing to me. And honestly, just sometimes hearing other people's stories too will make me realize like, oh, I've thought that, or I've been through that before without it. Because sometimes we're not even conscious of
Right.
half the things that we're doing or, like saying and stuff. And so honestly, like starting the organization has been really, really helpful and healing to me. So, I mean, but before that, yeah, it was therapy and the self-help books, but this has been just amazing work dealing, not dealing, but like working with women, like just one-to-one or in groups and stuff,
It's purpose. It gives
Yeah,
you a huge purpose, very rewarding.
very
And
rewarding.
I
Yeah.
think one of the other things is when we work with people and hear what they think about, we see that we're not alone in it. Like
Hmm.
when you're a survivor, it's very easy to think it's just me. I'm
Yeah.
damaged goods. I'm alone.
Yep.
Um, and I think when a group of women get together and share, they're seeing, oh, this is really a huge problem in our society and I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And these thoughts I have aren't true. These thoughts I have about myself aren't true. And I can think and believe and do better.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think
And that's the
organizations like
feedback
yours,
that I get from a lot of the women
yeah,
in our support groups, that they're like, I seriously thought I was alone. I didn't know that there was other women that went through the same exact thing as me. So thank you. And it's just like storytelling. And I think that too is very healing for people, especially for people that haven't been open about their trauma and what has happened to them. I
mhm,
know I know it sounds like really cliche. People don't believe that talking about it is very healing. But what is the thing? If you heal when you reveal.
mhm,
It's so true. And I always used to think that too. I'm like, that doesn't make sense, because I was really embarrassed of my trauma because of who it was and all that stuff. I was really embarrassed and ashamed of telling people, because I didn't want people to think, oh, wow, you come from a really jacked up family. But now I know that I don't feel like that anymore. I tell my story openly because I'm not ashamed. This is something unfortunate that happened to me, yes. But I didn't ask for it to happen. I
yeah,
was
you didn't do
innocent.
it to yourself.
Yes. And I was 7 years old. I was a little girl. I had no idea what was happening. And he should be embarrassed. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
Like, he
Mhm,
should be the one that's ashamed. I shouldn't. So I don't carry that around with me anymore. And that's part of like also why I tell my story and share this with women, is that you shouldn't be ashamed. Especially you didn't ask for it. You're a victim. You're a survivor, actually. You survived something terrible that happened to you. So you should be proud of yourself that you survived it. And you're still going. You're still trying to figure it out, and that's okay. It takes time. These
mhm,
healing doesn't happen overnight. It takes a while.
yeah,
So be kind of, easy on yourself.
yes, give yourself some grace.
Yes.
It's definitely a process.
Hmm.
So I'm curious about your books that you've published. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but how many books do you have published right now? Is it two?
Too, yeah.
Yeah, tell us about those.
Yeah, so the first book is called Passion, Purpose, and the Pursuit of Dreams. And it's just talking about my story, um, you know, kind of like what I'm doing here, and tell you guys where I started and now what I'm doing. And it's a collaborative book, so there are other authors in there who also contributed their stories as well. Yeah, and it's just honestly to inspire women, especially single moms and trauma survivors who have been through something, and letting them know you can make your own dreams come true, and you don't have to be stuck to that, statistic that the world has put stamped on you. And then the second book is called The Journey to Love, and it's more of a lighthearted book because it's about online dating and my experiences with online dating. And I'm so happy I'm not single anymore. And I don't have to be on dating apps, but it's just my experiences with dating apps and red flags, warning signs to be careful, because there's a lot of predators and just
Mhm.
sick people out there that are on there, and they look normal, and they're they're charming, and just to be careful that just because they look nice on the outside, and if you just get those warning signs and pay attention to them right away, you can avoid a lot of heartbreak and drama.
Right.
So yeah, so that's the second book. It's just called Journey to Love, and again, it's a collaborative book, so other authors have also contributed their stories as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the writing on dating sites is huge, especially when trauma survivors often don't listen to their intuition. And so,
Hmm.
so teaching people there's a good reason why we have that.
Hmm.
Please listen to it.
That's actually one of the big things we talk about in the support group is your call it intuition, God, the universe, whatever you want
Experience.
to, yes, whatever it is that you want to call it. And us as women, we're blessed. We're blessed because we just have that naturally. And this was part of my downfall when I was younger, was I always have been very intuitive, but I didn't listen. I consciously stopped listening to the voice because I didn't want to deal with it anymore. It was easier to be pissed at the world and start fights with people and have drama and blame everybody else instead of dealing with it. And that's what I used to do. I just used to blame everybody else. And I thought I was the victim mode for years and years and years until I started listening again. Then I started listening to the voice, because when you listen to the voice, it takes more work because it's trying to guide you into the goodness, and to be a good person, it takes more work.
Yeah.
It's easy to be
The
a
high road does.
yeah, it's harder, but it's there for a reason, and you must listen to it, because in my personal opinion, I feel like it's trying to guide us to the light. And if we don't go that way, then what's the other way? Darkness, and that's just kind of like the way I see it in my mind, so it's always really important to listen to it, even when you don't want to. That's when you should.
The most, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is important, because the other word for darkness is secrets. And that's where the shame kind of festers and grows. And the longer we stay stuck in there, it's harder to love ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So going to the light is always in our best interest.
Always. Yes.
Because like you had said earlier, that shame does not belong to us. So let's dump it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's dump it. Give it back to the person who traumatized you.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? Like, what else do you want the audience to know, or what's your best advice on recovering from trauma? Is it working with other women in groups? Is it
Yeah.
some kind of mantras? Is there a favorite self-help book that you would recommend?
So I'm actually reading a book right now. It's called Boundaries. I'm sure you've heard of it, right?
Is it by Henry McLeod
I don't know who the
or
author is.
Townsend? John Townsend?
Let me look really quick. It's so good. And I'm
There's a
not like
couple
a
out there.
super religious person either. So they do talk about, it's kind of a religious book. It's called Henry Cloud. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so good.
It's
I'm
so
like,
good.
wow, it is amazing. So if
Yeah.
anybody's looking for a good book on this, um, go read that one. I think I'm halfway through it. It's really, really good though. And that is one of the things that I do tell people, we talk a lot about in the group too, is boundaries and having those. And again, when you've gone through something like I personally have gone through, like sexual abuse, those boundaries were crossed. Somebody crossed them.
Mhm.
And so we tend to like not know, do we set those again? Do I not? Like you kind of get lost in that. And so it's just being self-aware, being aware of what's happening, how you're feeling and all that stuff, and just kind of dealing with it and not letting it fester too long either. Those negative, sad, and it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be mad, but just don't stay there, so
Mhm.
long. You gotta feel it. It's okay to feel it, and it sucks feeling sad and mad, but you
Mhm.
gotta feel it, and then you gotta let it go. You can't stay there. A lot of the times as victims, we tend to get stuck there.
Yes.
That's why we keep saying the word stuck, because we get stuck there and we just stay there. And unfortunately,
Mhm.
some people stay there the rest of their lives. And that's something, a huge reason why I do what I do, because I don't want to see people stuck there for as long as I was, because life can be beautiful again. Life can be, you can heal after trauma. It can be normal again. You can be whatever you want to be and make your own dreams come true. It just takes work. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes work, and it has to be you willing to do the work to get there, and it took me a really long time to figure that out. So another thing I would say, I definitely say, in your healing, you have to see a therapist or a counselor. It's like a must, in my personal opinion, just because it helped me immensely. There's a lot of things that they can help you with that you will not be able to help yourself, like doing it yourself. And the support groups, I would say the support groups are really, really, really helpful for women, just for the simple fact that it is very helpful to be in a room with women that have been through what you've been through. Nobody's judging you. Like, it's different when you talk to people that haven't been through the trauma, because they're so quick to say, why did you just stay? Why don't you just leave? Or why didn't you stay so long? Or why don't you just do this?
Yes.
Like, it's so
At
easy.
7, you should have packed your bags, got another family. So easy.
it's just so easy for people that haven't been in your shoes to throw out these really quick like anecdotes that aren't really helpful. So when you're around other people that have actually been through it or are going through it, it does something to these women where they just don't feel alone. They come back and every week they're getting better, and I think just going to a support group, of course, where you feel comfortable, I think that that's really, really helpful. And of course, trying to read self-help books and just working on yourself, loving yourself, doing things that you love. Like self-care is a huge thing. And I think when people think self-care, they think I have to diet and exercise. And it's not all self-care is, but it's like caring for yourself, doing the things that you enjoy that are healthy, So like if you like writing, write. If you enjoy like binge watching Netflix, it's okay, but within reason, if that's what helps you kind of escape from reality for a little bit, that's fine. But painting, hobbies, anything else that can kind of get your mind distracted in a positive way to just, to spend your time, do it, and if you don't know what you like, then just start exploring. There's tons of groups on Facebook and everywhere where you can figure out what it is that you like to do, So yeah, I think that those are the therapy, the support groups and the self-care, and then also the boundaries, like working on your boundaries and just being self-aware and not letting people take advantage of you and making sure you're around good people that have genuinely good intentions for you and your well-being, because I have this thing where I say birds of a feather flock together. So a lot of the times too, when we're healing, we have friends that are kind of on the same level as us, right? They're like right here. But then when we're healing, we're learning more, we're kind of growing, and then they're right here. So sometimes when you go to those people for advice, they're going to bring you back down here because that's the level that they're at. So it's always really important to be around people that are kind of like in the same mindset as you. And unfortunately, when we're healing, sometimes we realize that the people we're hanging around with are not good for us and we have to let them go. That's something that happened to me. I had two really, really, really good friends that I fell out with. At the time, it was really terrible because I felt like I had gotten my heart broken like twice over, but now today I know that happened because that's when I started my nonprofit. I was hanging around these girls all the time and all they wanted to do was like drink and party, and it was fun for a summer, but then once the summer was over, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like summer's done. Like it's time to get back to work. And so that was kind of what made me realize like I shouldn't be around these people anymore. And then we fell out, but it was the best thing ever because then I started the work that I do now, and it opened so many doors. Yeah. Because those weren't my people. I was not supposed to be around them, and the universe showed me as soon as they were out of my life the goodness, like just the amazing things that happened in my life. So just being really careful who you're hanging around, who you're confiding in, because again, too, a lot of people can take advantage of you knowing that you are in a vulnerable place right now, and sometimes that's when predators come for you, yeah. Or narcissists or energy vampires, as we like to call them.
Yes, they can smell it on you. So
it's really important to learn some coping skills and practice them. Yeah. Yes. So, all right. I think you had a really hopeful message for our guest today. So I'm very appreciative of that. And I hope you come back in the future and tell us what you're up to and what you're working on.
Yeah. And thank you for having me.
Yeah. We're going to have a summit in the fall. Maybe you could think about if you'd like to present on it.
Of course. I would love to. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Awesome. I love presenting and speaking and telling my story. So anything you ever need, I'm here.
Thank you. Well, you have a powerful story to tell.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.